Sure, a slow off-season can result in tears, but today we bring you a different sort of tear. Hopefully they bring you tears of joy. The show will. Welcome to the Selby's Godcast. I'm TJ, that's Zach. Hopefully you had a good weekend, buddy.
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, you looked outside? It's a little frigid out there.
I'm ready for spring. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, we have spring training nearing. This is the time of year where you start to look outside and then you start to dream of baseball. I was doing a little bit of that over the weekend as I was watching football, and all I could think about was still how much I can't wait for the season to start and to watch some actual baseball.
That's the trick. It has a spell on us because in a town like Cleveland, you get to this point, and so you start thinking about warm weather and spring training. That correlates in your brain to a new Guardians season, and all those frustrated, angry thoughts you had all winter about inactivity and payroll dissipate because you're just thinking warm thoughts.
No one brings up payroll the whole season. It just disappears as a storyline.
Yeah.
We'll never talk about it again. It's weird how that works. Well, you're already thinking about warmer weather this weekend with your son, as you were telling me before the show started.
Yeah, we signed up our 3-year-old on its way to 4 for, I think they call it tot ball. I don't know what that means.
Sounds delicious.
You know, he could have played t-ball last summer, but he had just turned 3. And I'm not worried about him because he's obsessed with baseball and still plays it in the living room and basement every day. But just 3-year-old, it's just chaos. There's nothing organized about it. So we waited a year and we signed him up, and my wife looked at me and she goes, I asked for their legal name, but do you really think we need to put Charles or should we just put Charlie? And then Charlie interjects and goes, no, put Ichiro.
First practice would be killer.
So I'm a little...
Ichiro, is Ichiro here?
I could see him assigning each teammate an actual big leaguer. There's a lot that could happen here. He knows too much.
Yeah, dangerous. Way too dangerous for his own good, certainly. We'll see if he can bring those sorts of skills to the table, to tot ball. Which all I could think about is just throwing tater tots and then trying to hit those.
Well, my wife
or
said...
maybe just trying to catch them in your mouth.
She said they don't play actual games, they don't keep score. And I'm like, well, then how am I going to hit the over? But...
Easy.
Yeah, so I think you just got to wear it this summer, and then next year should be coach pitch. Is that what's next? And then that's the real.
Yeah.
Then we're in it.
You're going to get on the mound and start reliving your glory days.
Mm-hmm.
I can already see it. You got to look out for Uncle Charlie.
We're all just
Would you hit him
wondering
with the
what
3?
age. At what age will he just be completely sick of baseball and done with it? 7?
Well, it'll be all your fault. All your fault from introducing it from the first time he was able to hold a bottle and a baseball card at the same time. Where would Ichiro go on a tier list? Probably near the top, I would imagine. I thought this would be a fun exercise today, Zach, because it is right before spring training is set to start. But far enough removed from spring training that we're not blinded by what spring training can do to us. You already said once you get in there and you start hearing the crack of the bat and the mitts pop in, and then you start seeing spring training game, Cactus League action, you start to see how changes to a body, Kyle Manzardo maybe Nolan Jones, some of the work he put in at Driveline, how this stuff translates to an actual game. We get numbers, we get data, and the next thing you know, I'm talking myself into why Nolan Jones is going to rebound with another 2020 season, revisiting a few years ago with Colorado.
Don't do it. Don't fall into the spring rose-colored glasses.
That's why I want to do this today, because we have yet to put those blinders on. We don't have Guardians tinted glasses on quite yet. So let's use this as maybe our jumping off point for before the spring training begins to maybe how our views change when we get to the war draft and we start actually putting something on the line here. So let's put the players on the 40-man roster into tiers. Maybe not all 40, but
you win one war draft and you're already talking about it in January?
I'm telling you, I got to get in there and repeat. I'm anxious to defend that title. So this could be our way of looking how our minds may change just based on what we witness in spring training.
So what is give me the criteria. Are we doing this together? This is a joint
We're
effort?
doing this
Okay.
together. This is going to be a tier list, and I'm going to put it up on the screen for our YouTube audience. So if you want to follow along at YouTube, this may be a little bit easier to see, but obviously listening to this, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you might be catching this podcast, you will be able to follow along as well. But this might help you visually to actually see it. So I've put the tier list together. I've tried to get somewhat creative with the tiers. It's not just S tier, A tier. It's based sort of on excitement level and our outlook for the player. So once I actually put it up on the screen, I think you'll understand.
What if those things don't align? What if I'm irrationally excited about somebody?
That could be caught up within it.
Okay.
We're going to go through all of these players and decide together where they go.
All right.
So are you cool with that?
Yeah.
If we can come to a consensus here on the show?
I don't think we're going to agree on everybody.
Well, that's the point. We're going to debate it. We're going to be able to come together to a decision on the player.
I have the Fangraph Zips projections up on my screen, and there's like 80% of the players I want to yell about the projections.
In what way? How are you going to yell?
Well, they have Jonathan Rodriguez as a 15% better hitter than Travis Bazzana, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Well, they've believed in Jonathan Rodriguez for a couple of seasons here. We've talked about that in the offseason. All right, let me get it up on the screen here. Let me make sure that this works.
So Jose just gets his own tier.
Jose gets his own tier. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you cool with that?
Who? Well, it's too early to talk about this. What's the future there? Like, when he inevitably starts to decline in like 30 years. No, when either he starts to decline or he leaves like who takes that mantle? Who's his successor? Who's the next person to be able to not allow him to have his own tier?
I guess we'll have to find out. Maybe it's Travis Bazzana tier. Okay, so those that can't see the visual, I've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 different tiers here. The top tier, Jose, the guy it's the GOAT. I could have just put a picture of the GOAT. He gets his own tier. Second tier, cautiously optimistic. Guys that you're excited for, maybe some things that you're a little bit nervous about in the back of your mind, but overall optimistic about their season. Next is hear me out. And this could maybe go either way. Maybe hear me out on a guy that no one's talking about that you think is maybe a sleeper for his season, or maybe the other way. We're overinflating somebody. Hear me out. I think we need to temper our expectations a bit. Next tier below that, they're fine. It's okay. It's kind of oatmeal-y, like you need them, but you're not really excited or pessimistic one way or another.
It's going to be a great nickname for somebody.
Oatmeal. They're fine. Last chance to show me something is below that. It's just, I'm not saying you're done completely, but you're running out of time. And then the last tier, bottom tier, if you're relying on this guy at all, we're in big trouble. So I'm curious where these guys are going to land. So would you like to start with Jose? I've got Jose down here.
Yeah,
the big test is going to see if I can figure out who all these headshots are. I'm realizing as I get older, I have had less and less space for new names, new people. So now I have to look at these and go, wait, who is that?
Yeah,
I was struggling
a good quiz.
big time
I see
with
a couple faces on here that I'm like, not 100% sure I
I
know.
was struggling with Connor Brogdon because he looks like somebody I think that played in Cleveland at one time, and my brain keeps going there, and I keep wanting to say Connor Brogdon is somebody else. We'll get there. Jose, top tier.
I'd put
Anything
him in
else to say
they're
here?
fine. Oh, we're going top tier? Okay. No, I hope, I ran the story last week that I do every year on his Hall of Fame prospects. And basically, I think if he just has 2 more seasons that aren't terrible, he's a shoo-in. I don't think he'll be a first ballot because I think people, so some of maybe the old guard or something, the people who are so accustomed to just sorting the Hall of Fame ballot and saying okay, did anyone have 3,000 hits? Did anyone have 300 wins? Anyone hit 500 homers? Those people are just never going to adapt. You still see some ballots that have 1 check mark on them. But he's there. I mean, it was the thing that was eye-opening to me because I always look for some new fact or stat that I haven't realized about him before. And last year, it was the fact that he's probably by the end of 27, or if we miss games in 27, certainly in 28, he's going to join Barry Bonds as the only players in Major League history with 350 homers and 350 stolen bases. And it's just, the guy's incredible. You think about how well-rounded he is, and it's easy. If you just go to his baseball reference page, you're going to be like, okay, like he hits home runs, he steals bases, he doesn't strike out, he draws walks, he's the MVP shares. Oh my God, I could talk forever about this. Could be a separate podcast too. Stop me if you want to talk about this later this week. He is so win shares in MVP voting. If I'll try to make this quick, I'll try to make this more succinct and clear than explaining my Fantasy Football Survivor League last week. I apologize for that.
Our Patreon audience is still trying to figure that one out.
So am I. That's why I didn't win. So if you get 100% of the votes, so like Aaron Judge was a unanimous MVP a couple years ago. So there were 420 possible points because there's 30 voters, 14 points for first place. That equals 420 points. He was unanimous. He got 420 points. That's 420 divided by 420, which equals 1. You get 1.0, one full win share, MVP win share, right? Jose Ramirez this past season finished third, right? And I think he ended up with 200 some points. It was like 0.53 MVP win shares. Point is, Jose Ramirez, I believe he's at like 3.61 win shares for his career, which is 26th all time in baseball history. And everybody ahead of him on the list has won an MVP award. He has not. So he is the most win shares of anyone who has never won an MVP. If he has another typical Jose season where he finishes like top 6, he's going to jump up to 19th. He's going to pass guys like the Yogi Berra and Pete Rose. And so the point is, like, there's a lot you can look at on his baseball reference page and understand that he's a well-rounded player. There's a lot that you're missing, the context. So there's that, because it shows that, yeah, he hasn't won an MVP, but he's so close, and someone being that close that often is rare. The other thing that stood out that I had forgotten about because I just lost count, you know how many times he's been a Gold Glove finalist? Guess a low number, so it sounds really impressive.
Probably like 2.
How about 7, TJ?
What?
Yeah, including each of the last 5 years. So again, like, you wouldn't glean necessarily, unless you look at, it's factored into WAR, but you wouldn't glean just looking at the surface level that, is this guy a good defender? No Gold Gloves? Well, he's one of the best defensive third basemen every year. Just hasn't won the one, and that's debatable too. So, point is,
consistency is his superpower.
Obviously,
for sure.
I'm not, telling Cleveland fans listening that anything they didn't know in terms of this guy's good and on this team deserves his own tier. But like the Hall of Fame conversation, it's just funny how it's evolved over the years, where 5 years ago we're sitting here and we're like, if this guy like keeps producing great seasons year after year after year till his mid-30s, I don't know, maybe. And that's exactly what he's done.
All I'm thinking about is if we spend this amount of time on the remaining 29 other headshots on this screen, we're going to be here for a while.
Well, Connor Brogdon doesn't have any MVP win shares, so
it was all worthwhile. Everything you said I agree with, and something we've talked about many, many times. It's just him consistently being there every year, and it's the reason why I will not write him off until there's a reason for me to do so. And every other player on the planet, you would say, at his age, you got to pump the brakes here. You got to be concerned about this. He's sort of a unicorn. Sort of a unicorn in not only the consistency, but also how good he is across the board, how smart he is. Even if the skills start to decline, you can make an argument that maybe some of those things have happened. He's also setting career highs or getting close in stolen bases. He's still hitting for power. He's finding ways every year to reinvent himself. He's not always the same sort of hitter, but he always gets into the neighborhood of the same level of run production, getting there in different ways.
He looks jacked just constantly this winter too, by the way.
Yeah. And I was looking at some video of him from 3-4 years ago, and you can even tell he's really put something into making sure his body is adapting to his age. He's given a ton of credit. He gets paid. And this guy loves baseball, he loves winning, and he's addicted to it. And there's nothing that's ever going to change that. He's never going to be a guy that got his money, was like, "Welp, we're good now." No, this guy expects excellence from those around him, and of course of himself as well.
I mean, you know how, like, Anthony Rendon got his huge contract and then admitted he doesn't
Hated
like baseball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's been chatter about Kyle Tucker kind of being cut from the same cloth. Not that he's just gonna like chill because he got $240 million, but he's going to the Dodgers where he can just hide in the shadows. And I hear stories about players like that, and I think about how Jose is just the opposite. Like, this dude is just, there is that. I remember someone a long time ago described it as he's got that MFer in him, and it's just like constantly that there's just like something burning in his chest that makes him want to be elite and it's just as good as he possibly can be, and that hasn't faded.
There are certain players, and I don't always think that this is fair, but afterwards you might see them in the locker room, you might hear a post-game interview, and you question, does this guy even care? Does he care about winning? Does he care that maybe he had a bad game, or is he just flushing it and going home? And I don't always think that's fair. People deal with the disappointment in many different ways. Maybe it doesn't outwardly show. That's how they deal with it, is by not getting themselves too down or being wrecked over it. There's no question. When Jose makes a play that he's disappointed in himself, you see it. You see the disappointment, the frustration. It might not always be beneficial to reporters in the locker room, but the number of times that he's been very upset and hasn't wanted to talk about it after the game, I mean, that's been evident. You don't question whether or not the guy cares, and he's certainly the guy that you're comfortable paying that sort of money to, especially when he's willing to take a severe discount to stay here and be that guy, but also the guy that sets the tone for everybody else, that expects more from everyone around him. So let's lead that into the guy that sits next to him on the diamond, Brian Rocchio. What tier do you want to put Brian Rocchio into? Because you can make this is last chance to show me something.
Yeah,
you could point to playoff Rocchio and say, hear me out. You could be optimistic about him. I feel like he could fit into a lot of categories.
This honestly
here.
might be the toughest player on the list. This is hard because I think a year ago I would have said cautiously optimistic, and we're also critical of Arias, and justifiably. And with Rocchio, it's why does he get a pass? Just because Arias has like one extra year of.
Well, who do you think's giving him a pass? I haven't necessarily.
Well,
heard
I'm going to give him
that.
a pass because I think I'm going to put him in cautiously optimistic again.
Ooh, interesting.
With him,
I don't know if I agree.
I don't know where else to put him. Right, like last chance to show me something, but I think if you're going to,
I don't think that's true for him.
Okay, then where are you putting him? They're fine.
I was thinking
not fine.
they're fine,
But he's not
They're
yet.
fine.
I want him to be fine. He hasn't proven he can be fine.
Well, that's kind of what I think he is right now. I think he is fine, and I think what he has been is probably what he's going to continue to be. And if you're a good defender and maybe a little bit more offensively, look, you're a major leaguer, but are you a building block, middle of the diamond sort of player? I don't know yet. I just don't feel like he fits into cautiously optimistic for me.
Yeah. I don't think he fits into any of these for me. I think he's somewhere between last chance to show me something and cautiously optimistic. I don't know with
So that would mean they're fine, because that's sort of where
we are innately going to compare him to Arias because they are the middle infield, and eventually they're going to eat each other until one is standing. And we're all assuming that's going to be Rocchio because we've seen more of Arias over the years and we've seen no improvement, where with Rocchio, at least in certain moments, he delivers. And so that gives us like this little modicum of, okay, maybe it's in there. And we don't even have that for Arias. With Arias, it's like a random opposite field 440-foot blast in May.
The only reason why I think Rocchio, it'd be tough to put him into last chance to show me something, though I am thinking about it, is who is going to replace him at shortstop
that's what I mean.
in the near term.
It's not his last. Like I need to do Arias first Because if Arias winds up in last chance to show me something, then Rocchio's going to get one more
Yeah.
chance than he is.
Well, can we say that there's tiers within tiers? Like, last chance to show me something, Rocchio is higher on that spectrum than where Arias ends up. And I just mix those around.
I don't think so. I think this
No?
is no.
So where does
I
it?
mean,
where
as
does
it
he
says
fall
at the
then?
top, you created a single-use tier list. Nice title. I think each tier is its own.
Yeah, how much work did you put into this? Okay, thanks.
I'm just trying to figure out whose headshot is who.
What a
There's
jerk.
a guy on the top row that I've never seen in my life. I think, but here's the thing.
One
like,
of these guys is AI, and you have to figure out which one.
ooh, that'd be a fun little quiz. So like Rocchio, Zips says he's an 83 OPS plus. It's got him at 236, 304, 356. If I were to tell you, let's just take the 83. Would you go over or under?
I think I'd take the under.
Oh. See, I was
think
going
I'd
to
take the under. I mean, I think that feels really good. That's if you're just throwing a dart at it and say, where do you think it's going to land? That's about where I think he would be. So can I put him in there? Fine.
All right, yeah. That's not fine, though. Like, 83 is
I
not
guess
good
we got to
enough.
move on. Well, they're fine in that I think they're going to continue to exist on the roster for now.
That should be its own tier.
I don't know. We can adjust later. We can adjust based on how you feel about certain guys. All right, hit me with Stephen Kwan. Does that go cautiously optimistic?
So,
Is that where he's going?
but this is where standards matter, right? Like, what he has done, what he did last year, makes me want to say they're fine. But because fine, league average offensive production, on this team, that's Hall of Fame worthy. So, that's why this is, I make everything more difficult than it has to be. Our standards, they're fine is the guy with an 83 OPS plus. That says a lot about this offense, doesn't it?
Maybe he goes down here. Rocchio goes into last chance. I'm leaving him here into their fine.
Yeah,
Stephen Kwan.
Kwan can go there. I mean, I am cautiously optimistic that he is the 120 guy and not the 99 guy. Cautiously optimistic that he can avoid injury and avoid a second half fade. That's the big one.
That's my big concern. I think when he's healthy, the body feels good. He's not worn down by a long season. This guy's a great hitter, but we have a track record now of a guy that does get worn down and get bogged down by little injuries, little nagging things here and there that does cut into the production. It's what keeps me from thinking, hey, this is a guy that when it all comes together could be in the consideration for an MVP because of just the number of WAR that he piles up with the great defense. And man, if he has a great defensive year and you couple that with like a 135 WRC plus and he steals some bags and stays healthy for the entire year,
WAR, yeah.
that is a guy that could finish in some MVP ballots for sure. He could be a top 5 guy on some lists. But can he stay healthy enough to do it? I think there's every player has a spectrum of here's where they can fall on any given year. I think that's within the realm of possible for Stephen Kwan. So I guess I'll keep that in cautiously optimistic, though I think if we were doing a somewhat tier within a tier, he probably would fall a little bit further down until he proves the health thing is not going to be something that plagues him for 1 year. And obviously that's what he's hoping for, given that he's trying to prove that he's worthy of a much bigger deal than what the Guardians are comfortable giving him for some sort of extension. Chase the Lauder.
He's got to be cautiously optimistic, right?
Yeah, I agree there.
More cautious than anyone else.
Yeah. You take that cautious off the board, and maybe he's entering Jose tier in level of excitement. The only question, Stephen Kwan, is health, but he stays on the field, and sometimes it's a negative thing for a guy in our minds when he stays on the field and he's banged up, as opposed to giving them credit for wanting to be on the field if it cuts into your production. Unfortunately for DeLauder, it's things that have kept him off the field. But in terms of actual talent, I think this guy's got star level potential.
Yeah, I mean, I said it a few weeks ago, and I'll repeat it now. But like, I'm tired of talking. Like, I don't know how to prevent injuries. I don't like. I'll leave that to the medical team. I hate that as a discussion point. I hate when, whatever sport it is, where it's like you're trying to predict how a team will fare or how a series will go, and you have to talk injuries. Like, I don't know. You know what I know? I want to see this guy on the field because his swing is really interesting. Some people like it, some people do not, and all he's ever done is rake. And I just want to see that. I just want to see it in action. I want to see this guy play. I want to see him hit. I think it'll be a breath of fresh air, but
Yeah.
we'll see how often we get that opportunity.
And it's unfortunate because it would be great if he could be the center fielder for this team. You can question whether or not he's got the skills to actually do that. This team has been comfortable with putting Lonnie Chisenhall and Jason Kipnis in playoff games and Nolan Jones in center field. I think you could get by with Chase DeLauder in center field, but this is a guy that, with the injuries that he has, do you want to take that risk?
They're going to.
Do you consistently though? Do you want to put him out there in center field? To me, you're looking for the first opportunity to get him out of center field in any particular game, just because that's a lot to put on a guy. You want to get him into the corner outfield, and some days maybe even DH just to preserve him and keep him on the field. That's unfortunate. We're thinking about that before the guy has even stepped foot on a regular season game in the major leagues.
Right.
Logan Allen, can I make a case for hear me out?
Sure.
I think he got overlooked last year. We never talk about this guy.
True.
But you go back, what was it, 2 years ago? He just had the look of a guy that not that he's going to front a rotation, but just consistently could be like a 3.5, 3.75 ERA, just devour a bunch of innings every single year, be slightly better than league average, and a guy that's very valuable for you, even if he doesn't get the recognition. And, man, the year that he contributed last year, how key was that? Not a guy you want to start playing starting a playoff game, for sure. But do they get where they are without Logan Allen being as solid as he was last year? And to have those sorts of numbers and not get talked about pretty much ever, to get overlooked in every other facet of this rotation. We're talking about the excitement of Joey Cantillo we'll get to, Slade Ciccone, Parker Messick. I'm excited. I never mentioned Logan Allen. I think we need to give him some credit for the season he had last year, and a guy that can be consistently maybe just a little bit better than league average.
Well, you just made the case for a different category. You didn't even realize it. You made the case for they're fine. ERA plus last year, 98. Just a tick below league average. What does Zips project? More of the same. So, 98. So, or actually 102. I take that back. But again, right around league average. I just think the reason he gets lost in the shuffle is because he's fine. You don't want him starting a playoff game. You don't want him forced into being one of your top starters. But if he's your number 5, cool. Got no issues with it. He's like, if I'm the Guardians, I'm hoping, maybe Parker Messick's the odd man out, number 6, and he starts the year at AAA and like kind of buy their time with him and start him.
Sure, you want to sell me on managing innings better or something like that. Because you go to AAA
to start the year, you play 6 games a week, you can just start once a week and, ease into the season a little bit. And Logan's your number 5, and your hope is that by the end of the season, maybe Logan's not your number 5. But if there's an injury or something, it's okay. You don't want him to be one of your 5 best maybe or 4 best, but you can live with it as long as you've got other good pitchers. I just think he's the definition of they're fine.
Okay. He's definitely a get-you-there starter.
I just think
guys that you're very thankful to have over 162.
Right. I think hear me out is for when you're making a case that doesn't align with what their production is, and your case was exactly that he's fine.
I think the fine comes from he is fine, but probably doesn't even get the recognition for being fine. So
Which
that's
is fair.
the hear me out
It was
aspect.
like Junis last year, which
Congrats to him
Yeah.
getting
Junist, now
his
in
$4
Texas.
million contract. Yes. How about that? All right, let's go Gavin Williams. I struggled with this one. And it is sort of tied to the other starter at the top of the rotation. Maybe we can just do this in tandem with Tanner Bybee. And the reason why I keep saying this, Tanner Bybee was much better than the numbers indicate last year. And I think Gavin Williams was probably better than he should have been. If you look below the surface in things that you trust to be projectable, they probably were very similar in terms of the sort of season they had in the things that they can control. Does that mean that Gavin Williams can outpitch some metrics? No, of course not. Guys can do that. But if you're telling me to set expectations for 2026, taking into account what we witnessed last year, I think they're pretty similar, even though just on the surface level stats, Gavin Williams would be way far above what Tanner Bybee contributed. So I'm struggling with both of those guys. I think I want to put Bybee in the cautiously optimistic, whereas Gavin Williams, the hear me out is more, hear me out, we probably are expecting him to repeat as good as he was last year. And if he's the same pitcher he was last year, Gavin Williams, he's probably going to have a little bit of dip in production and not be quite as dominant.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have pointed to the walk rate. And the walk rate, still was a little high the last few months when he really got on a tear. He's always going to be able to escape some of that, some of those jams, just because the stuff's so good and he's going to strike out guys when he needs to, right? So I think I just don't worry about, as long as he needs to avoid we've talked about this a million times, the 4 1/3 innings, 5 walks, I think he really did change the attack plan.
I agree with that.
And
I agree.
Stopped nibbling and figured out what he could throw for strikes and when, and the mindset he needed to have to just attack hitters. And so I don't worry about him. He's probably always going to outpitch his FIP. Right, he's just going to be a guy who is going to have some natural traffic because, Tristan McKenzie was like that even when he was at his best, where the walk rate was a little high sometimes, but his stuff was so good and it played so well together that he could get a strikeout when he needed to. I'm not worried about him. There'll be some regression, sure, but I remember talking to him in Boston toward the end of the year, and he's like, stop calling me an ace. And he's like, there's so much more I can do. And this has been good, but just scratching the surface here. So I also think Tanner Bybee, I've said this, but even I overlooked how good he was in September. Because I was so focused on Gavin Williams is emerging as this frontline guy, and Joey Cantillo's been awesome. And how about Parker Messick coming on the scene here? And oh, by the way, Tanner Bybee had a 1.30 ERA in September. And just to flush how frustrating of a season he had. So I'm torn between hear me out. I think both will be totally fine, and it'll be a nice 1-2 punch atop the rotation, and cautiously optimistic. I'm not really cautious about it. So maybe they fall on hear me out.
I can buy that. I certainly buy that with Gavin Williams. And my hear me out is, I don't think he's going to be bad. I'm not suggesting that. I think more the comparison in my mind is me trying to sell you on why Tanner Bybee was probably closer to where Gavin Williams was in the total season than we even have in our minds. If you're asking me, I'd put Gavin in hear me out and Tanner in cautiously optimistic. Can you roll with me on that?
Yeah.
If I was willing to bump Logan Allen down into their fine, you can roll with me on cautiously optimistic for Tanner Bybee. Sean Armstrong.
I think cautiously optimistic that he can repeat an elite season at his age.
I was thinking more they're fine.
There's a big difference between him and Rocchio, man. That's what I think we're missing.
That's
a
why
tier.
you could put him over here. You could move Rocchio down. In fact, Rocchio I think needs to go below Logan Allen as well.
I'm with you. I said I wanted a one tier, one level higher than Armstrong. Just when they were shopping for a reliever, like, whether that's Luke Weaver or I don't remember who else was out there. Helsley. Obviously money meant everything, but like I like Armstrong.
That's where the fine.
Yeah,
You can say it in different
he
ways.
was
You can
really
say,
good.
Yeah, they're
last year,
fine,
though.
or you could say they're fine. My more they're fine for him is I think that's in the neighborhood of what he is. A really solid guy that you hand the ball to in the 7th and 8th. He's not going to lead some Fangraphs article at this age as being, hey, the surprising guy that you don't know about in the Guardians bullpen. He's not going to have some hype train tied to him because at this point you kind of know what he is in his career. I think he's a very solid bullpen weapon. He's not a guy that they're creating an entire package around in the postseason to say, look at this stud coming out of the bullpen. No, I just think he's a really solid reliever.
Yeah.
At this point in his career.
Right, so I'm cool with they're fine. We probably need to differentiate there.
Kyle Manzardo, is he going straight into cautiously optimistic? Oh, that muscle that dude added. You've guessed that maybe he's even up to more than the 14 pounds that Stephen Vogt was talking about.
Well, that's the thing is he had put on the 14 pounds of muscle by the winter meetings. So what has he done for the last 6 weeks?
Crushed Christmas cookies.
Yeah, that's a different kind of weight gain.
He's bulking. No, that it's just bulking. It's all in how you term it.
Right.
Bulking. Had to add calories so he could gain weight.
Yeah, so cautiously optimistic for me would mean
They're protein cookies. I don't know what you're talking about.
would mean he can handle lefties. And he kind of has that Josh Naylor emergence where you're putting him in the lineup 7 days a week. Maybe, you're facing Max Fried or something and you sit him or Scooble. But he's in there every day. And it's not a question. And he's hitting fourth. And that's that. And maybe that's in there. I don't know. We don't have enough evidence of watching this guy play yet, maybe. But
Yeah.
I can be cautiously optimistic that it is in there.
Certainly need to give him the opportunities against lefties. The only thing that would concern me, like if I was drafting him for a fantasy team, is if you lose any sort of confidence in him and this team does actually add another right-handed stick before spring training, and then David Fry falls into the category of being an easy platoon partner for Kyle Manzardo, then does he start to have some of his time eaten into by David Fry? We'll get to our outlook on Fry coming up. But overall, I think he's capable of just be playable, just be passable against lefties so that you leave him in there, even if you have to bump him down a lineup spot or two against the lefties so that you never miss out on a opportunity for him to face a righty later in the game. You don't have to pull any levers and get him into the lineup or burn a roster spot, a bench spot by getting into the game. Just be playable against lefties. That's really all I need you to do. And God, we were making jokes about how lethal he was against lefties at the beginning of the year. Just be playable. That's all you have to do to maintain your spot. And then if you do that and crush righties, you're a great hitter. You're good. I have no problems with you in the middle of the lineup. And maybe he could chase down that 25 to 30 home run power consistently every single year and be a little bit better in terms of batting average too. I think he's a better batting average hitter, and he'll figure that out as his career unfolds.
It is interesting when, he hit 27 home runs last season. And so you start thinking about, like, what's the next evolution of Kyle Manzardo? Is it 35 home runs? Is it just a better, more
is that what's best for
hitter?
him?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know where this goes. I like that. How many times have we said, well, maybe this little 5'9" infielder can add some power and hit 15, 20 home runs. Well, we don't have to do that with him. He's already got he can hit 27 home runs, so he could probably hit 30.
Yeah.
But what's the next evolution? Is it 35 home runs and he hits 220 with a 300 on base percentage? Or
didn't it look like last year this was a guy that was chasing some power at the detriment of batting average, which is, if you're generating enough power, no one's concerned about your batting average. But I think every hitter has to ask themselves, what is the best version of myself?
Correct.
It's a conversation we had about Josh Naylor 1,000 times.
Yeah, I think this is a guy who can draw a ton of walks, more so than he did last season. And if he's more selective, hunts the pitches he knows he can drive. Like that, I think there's a lot in there, but I think there's a lot we don't know about him as a hitter still. So that makes me cautiously optimistic.
Joey Cantillo, can I say, hear me out?
Yeah.
I've been trying to make people hear me out about Joey Cantillo. I'm very excited about his season coming up.
Me too.
I really am. Just the level of innings that you can finally give this guy and just see what happens. Could he settle into one day just being more of a fun bullpen weapon? Sure. But I think this guy can be a big league starter. And not only that, just this ability to miss bats within the zone. That's something we talked about. It was on par last year with Tarek Schoolboy, his ability to miss bats within the zone. And if he can just take that and just be tantalizing enough with his stuff outside the zone, not so much wasting pitches so that guys can easily spit on it and recognizing that ball's out of the zone, use that changeup effectively and find that other secondary pitch. I think this guy's got he's got some ability here to be a really, really good starting pitcher. Not a guy that is a get-you-there starter, a guy that you are comfortable pitching in playoff games against some of the best hitters in baseball. He's got that sort of ability. I'm going to sell you on it.
Cleveland starting pitchers sorted by ERA plus, which is basically a way to say your ERA compared to that of the rest of the league. This is projections via Zips on Fangraphs, and it goes Gavin Williams first at 118. That means 18% better than league average. And number 2, Joey Cantillo at 116. Tanner Bybee's next at 114. So, yeah, it's in there. We saw not even just flashes, but like his last 7 starts last year, his ERA was 158. And I know we discussed kind of the formula for him earlier this winter where your stuff's really good. The changeup's incredible. When you throw it in the zone, hitters guess wrong a lot. When you throw it out of the zone, hitters don't chase. So throw it in the zone more. You'll get a ton of swing and miss. And that's that. I mean, it's pretty simple with him. So it'll help your walk rate, and everything was working in harmony down the stretch last season. So very interested to see what he looks like from day one.
Matt Festa, look out, Jose. We are gonna go right up in here, the top. No, move out of the way, Jose. Get Festa up to the top to the Jose tier. Clearly, moving on. I should have created his own. Festa deserved his own tier. Really, right?
Yeah, that would have been a hoot. Get it? Because he had
because he loves owls.
That is
yeah.
why.
No.
He is the
Lovely pair of hooters you got there. The owls, they're beautiful.
He's the definition of they're fine, right?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not going to argue with you because we have other names on the list.
Hear me out take on this guy?
I mean, hear me out. He was better than the meme. We joked about him being the fulcrum, as you termed it, the guy that the flow chart. Starters out of the game, go to Festa. You're winning, go to Festa. You're losing, well, maybe because Festa was in the game. But by the end of the season, he was just as solid and trusted as anybody else in that bullpen. So credit to him to being able to do it. Okay, how about Tim Herron? Can he go and hear me out? Because I've got big plans in my mind for Tim Herron
So why
this
is
year.
that
I was
not
very
cautiously
encouraged.
optimistic?
Because I don't think he's on quite the same level as Bybee and DeLauder and
Okay.
Kwan. But Tim Herron, I was really optimistic about him last year, and certainly the year did not play out in his favor or in mine, for that matter. But I was very encouraged by what we saw. And this is a guy that not only showed us, which, what is that worth, but showed himself in September and October. I'm still that dude. I'm still that guy. What is he? He transforms into Jim Herron? What was that?
That's right. It's his alter ego, yeah.
His alter ego, Jim Herron. I think he proved to himself, I still got that. I still got that ability to be a lethal lefty. And by the end of the year, Stephen Vogt was more than willing to hand him the ball along with everybody else in that bullpen. So I'm kind of excited to see if he can come in and flush last year and get back to being the guy he was 2 years ago, one of the top four horsemen for this group.
He's got the inspiration he probably never thought he'd ever have. This is a kid who grew up in rural Indiana. Football family. Dad was a coach. 3 brothers, I believe. Everybody played football. I think one was a tight end, one was an offensive lineman. He was the quarterback. And they're all playing in the yard, and then he's the high school quarterback. He was like a stud quarterback, too. Ends up going to Indiana. Stays home. He's a Hoosier. Plays baseball. Wanted to play football, ended up playing baseball. But was a football, like, that's a basketball school. He didn't really care about the basketball team. He was a football guy and then a baseball guy. You know, I think he roots for like the Denver Nuggets. He's not even a Pacers fan. But look at him now. I mean, he's got the Indiana Hoosiers. As we record this, we're recording this the morning of the national championship game. His Hoosiers can win the champ. They were the worst program in college football for decades. And here they are on the doorstep of immortality. And there is nothing in that guy's life. I mean, he is, like, to be an Indiana football fan for years what was the point of that? And now look at it. So you don't think that's going to keep him going and push him to new heights? Then I don't know what to tell you. Hear me out. This guy's going to have all the motivation he needs. Thanks to Kurt Signetti and Fernando Mendoza.
Well, you look at this list so far. Look at all. We got Jose. We got all these cautiously optimistics. To hear me out, they're fine. We don't have anybody on at the bottom. This team is destined for greatness along with the Dodgers. So maybe let's address the bottom of that. Otherwise, we're just going to believe that this team is going to be fantastic. How about Jonathan Rodriguez? Where are you putting Jonathan Rodriguez?
So it's not fair to put him in the last chance because he hasn't gotten a ton of them. The projection systems love him. The problem with it
for some time.
The problem with it is he's just a butcher defensively, and so if
we saw that in the playoffs.
Yeah, if he's a right-handed solution at DH, I can't just give you daily opportunities. Like, you're going to have to take every chance you get and crush the assignment. It's easier said than done. I don't know.
The for me comes from if you're going to be giving him any sort of significant playing time. Despite what the projections are saying about him, and I was willing to give him a shot, and had some big moments down the stretch for this team, so wasn't completely forgettable, and God, you're hitting him clean up in some games. That's a big-time yikes. To me, it's still an It's still an if you're counting on him. If he emerges because everyone else, he just finds himself in this lineup and he's great, okay. But I think it's got to be in the category for me if you're really counting on him to do much of anything as opposed to just a bonus, showing up and being a bonus.
He's projected a 104 OPS plus. Are you taking the under?
I think I'd take the under. I think I'd take the under there. Gabriel Arias, are we going straight to the last chance to show me something, or are you already in the
I'm in the we've seen it for years. There hasn't been, even changes like standing further away from home plate in the box. Maybe it works for a couple days, or like something happens and you can attribute it to the change, but there's been nothing that has stuck. There's been nothing sustainable, and it's hard because what you're hoping for him offensive, like the defense is great, fine. They can get that from Rocchio too. And the difference is
probably not to Arias' level. I'm going to give him credit. He was great defensively last year, and I think the team looked better with him at shortstop late in the year last year.
But for a team that is so starved for offense, I can't have his offensive profile be hopefully this is the 2 random days out of the 3-month stretch where he goes bananas.
On the right team, this could be a really good player, but the Guardians always find themselves in this position of you can't have everybody be a guy that you hit 8th or 9th. You can't have 5 of those guys. Bo Naylor is going to fall into this similar category where it's like if they're on a team with great offense and that guy hits 9th and they bring a lot defensively and they do all the other things well, you live with it. And in the case of Arias, maybe that guy's hitting 9th for you, and then this is the one time he hits that missile to right center field, and it's a 3-run homer, and it helped change the game for you. And if that happens 3 or 4 times over the season, you might think, well, with the defense, this is perfectly passable. I texted you the Braves, they're without a shortstop. Maybe the Braves call up the Guardians here about Arias. But in terms of what they would expect from him, getting a guy that's like a 75 to 80 WRC plus with the outstanding defense, if that guy's going to show up as the shortstop and be that guy again, which that's kind of what he's showing us he is at this point, that is an uh-oh.
Yeah, and so him being there and Rocchio being in the they're fine category, I would say Rocchio's on thin ice. You could slip down to the last chance to show me something if you're not careful.
How about CJ Kafis?
I don't know. I have strong thoughts about what I think DeLauder and Valera and a lot of these young guys could be, and he's sort of the one that gets lost in the shuffle. I really don't know. I think I like the bat. Zips puts him at a 106 OPS plus. I wonder how much power is in there. Is he more bat to ball? It's a big difference if he's a guy who can hit 20 home runs, right? I'm kind of in between they're fine and cautiously optimistic. Do you want to go for they're fine for now?
Yeah.
Unless you have but if you feel stronger. More strongly.
But I don't really feel like fine fits him, but I'm not as strong to make a significant case for him either. I just feel like this guy could just be a solid bat.
Yeah.
At his position, it's tough because that's often a spot, becomes a landing spot when you don't have a better fit elsewhere at first base / DH. Obviously, he proved that he can play some corner outfield, so that expands his possibilities. I still think he's capable of being a good bat. I mean, he was to show up and have some big moments, hit a big home run for this team down the stretch, and be a guy that you can pencil into that lineup and get some production out of at his age. Like that's why I feel bad saying just they're fine. I think there's more upside than just a fine guy.
He's different than the other guys in that category because the reason he's just fine is because we haven't seen enough. I'd say cautiously optimistic, but then it's like, yeah, then we're putting him in a category with Kwan.
Whoops,
and
I just
Bybee
moved him off the board completely. He's gone. Yeah.
I think you have
I think it makes sense.
At the bottom.
Where did he go? I'll find him. Nolan Jones.
Last chance to show me something. I thought last year was that. More lives than your cat.
Won't shut up. There, I found it. Armstrong got bumped off the board. That's why I was like, where is Kafis? And then it was just Armstrong. It was back in the bottom. Here's the question. If there's no driveline video and you don't see him putting in the work.
See, that doesn't
where does he fall? Where does he fall?
That doesn't get my juices flowing like it does for you. He should be working. He should be working. Every player should be doing stuff like that.
Of course, but this is
when
the
I see
one
Deshaun
guy or
Watson,
one of few.
like jogging on a practice field and throwing some passes last summer. Like, I'm not tweeting out QB1 getting back at they should be doing that. Whether it's public video or not is how desperate the player is for attention. And this isn't Nolan Jones putting this stuff out there, so I'm not saying he is, but
no.
I don't know.
You tell them. You tell them I'm putting in the work. You tweet that. You put that in there.
Nah, I think we've said it over and over. Like, it doesn't quite makes sense. He's a dude who's got the physical tools, who's got experience on both ends of the spectrum now. And for some reason, that swing just hasn't produced what our eyes and what certain metrics at certain points say that it should.
I think injuries certainly got in the way a couple of years ago, and I think mental health last year, just feeling confident about himself, was a big issue for him last year. So my question about Driveline is, does he go in the uh-oh category if you've heard nothing about him this entire offseason? Of course, everybody's putting in work.
I just think because they tendered him a contract, because we know DeLauder and Valera and Kafis are going to be clawing at you to get playing time, like, he is the literal definition of the name of that category. This is the last chance, and if anyone knows it, I'm sure it's him.
Does Bo Naylor fall into a similar category, or are you at this point in their career establishing that he's just fine?
I think when you've got a catcher as your manager, other catchers on the staff, like, they're willing to cut you some slack that maybe the public isn't, because they know what goes into the position. For him, I still think we see these flashes, and it always happens in September, and it gets me wondering if there's more in there.
Maybe bumping him up a little bit further on the they're fine.
I'm tempted to put him and hear me out and say, like, I don't know,
ooh.
maybe there's a...
Okay, well, you let me tell you about Tim Herron.
I don't
on Bo
have
Naylor.
a lot behind this other than, like, I think there's a 20-homer season in there somewhere at some point. I don't know when it'll happen. We have discussed how he made great strides in improving the walk rate and decreasing the strikeout rate last year, and for some reason that didn't help. It was really strange, right? And so I just wonder if there's a better hitter in there. Like, maybe he could maintain the changes he made on those two fronts, repeat it, and it produces better results. Like, that's entirely possible. I fell into the trap of he had an incredible final 6 weeks in 2023. I thought this was going to be a breakout player who could hit in the middle of the order, and it didn't happen. And I'm looking at last September and seeing that he had an 872 OPS and a bunch of doubles and a few home runs. And am I going to fall into that same trap? I don't know. I think there can be a league average season in there or close to it. And on this team, that's one of your best players.
I'll leave it there. I'll say, hear me out.
And it's also possible that he hits 160 with 12 home runs, and it's a big bummer. Or maybe it doesn't mean it's not as detrimental because you have David Fry available to catch again. Or Cooper Ringel makes some strides and can be an option at some point. So, it's also important, I think, for him to have a better season at the plate.
Well, you mentioned David Fry. Let's do him next. Here's where my fear comes in. I do think he's going to be better offensively. I mean, you can make a case that just based on sheer luck and baseball being baseball, he's going to be better offensively. We saw strides of him getting back to the guy he was before, obviously getting hit by Tarek Skubal, and then that ended his season. But I felt like we were starting to see some of the guy he was. When David Fry and the team's expectations for David Fry are at their best, it's not when we've got to, like, you're mapping out a lineup around David Fry because, here's a lefty, we got to get him in the lineup. I think David Fry's at his best when he's more of like the secondary right-handed stick that can play everywhere, and your expectation level isn't, here's the guy that's hitting second, here's the guy that's hitting fourth. It's more, we're lefties on the mound. Yeah, David Fry's in there somewhere, and we're happy about that, but also not building the offense on that particular day around David Fry. So the expectation level needs to even out a little bit, so it's why I kind of want to put him into their fine, even though I think this is, now that he's able to play the field again, that's a very valuable hitter as long as we're keeping our expectations where they need to be.
Yeah, it's difficult because, obviously he was an all-star in 24, which was bizarre, right? No one ever would have guessed that. And he suffers the elbow injury. He becomes a DH only, and his offense tailed off too. And so you're struggling to figure out, okay, well, how much pain were you experiencing? And he never wanted to talk about it much or make excuses. And then last year, like, I don't know what it's like to hit and not be able to play the field because you just had elbow surgery. And the one thing that stands out to me is 2024, the walk rate was almost 11%, cut in half last year. The strikeout rate in 2024 was 21%, which was incredible. That's a really good number for someone who was also hitting really well. It also didn't quite fall in line with, he had a pretty high strikeout rate in the minors. And then his strikeout rate jumped to 37% last year. So what am I supposed to believe? If I believe the truth is in the middle of all those numbers, then he's going to certainly be better than he was last year when he had a 63 WRC plus. He had a 129 the year before. Probably not going to be that high. But what's in the middle? League average? He was a little bit above league average in 2023, his first season. So in that case, if that's what he is, then yeah, they're fine, right? And they're fine is a valuable thing to be when you have, 4 right-handed hitters on the 40-man roster, and he's one of them?
Yeah. His ability to catch will be big, so hopefully that is something that's on the table, and that takes him from being... Last year, I hate to say he was clogging up a roster spot, but when you only have a DH that can only play against lefties realistically, and they're not even being great at that, at that stage of his recovery, it kind of did feel like he was just clogging up a roster spot. He goes from sort of an inconvenience to an actual threat now when he's able to play first base, hopefully catch, hopefully play right field, any of those things. And now you do that along with just being good against lefties. Valuable member of this team. I'm excited to see what his outlook is for this year once they get to spring training. It'll be interesting. Cade Smith, can I just sell you on he goes into the Jose category?
Whoa.
I'm not even cautiously optimistic.
His name's
I'm
not
not
even
cautious
Jose.
about it at all. Well, make his middle name Cade Jose Smith. I don't know. But how many teams could lose a Hall of Fame track closer in the way that the Guardians did in Emmanuel Clase, and people are just like, oh man, that's a big hit for Cleveland. Who they got? Cade Smith? Oh, okay. And nobody misses a beat. Yeah, we know everyone bumped up a spot, so that hurts you in the 6th, 7th, 8th innings. Certainly. Makes you a little bit more thin back there, but outside of like the day that the chaos is happening and the circus is happening and Cade Smith is like thrust into being the closer on that particular day, when anybody, I can make an excuse for anybody to be off their game, the dude was just locked in pretty much at all times. And he steps in from being one of the best setup men in baseball to one of the best closers in baseball overnight.
Do you know how many pitchers have a higher WAR over the last 2 years than Cade Smith?
Relievers? How many relievers?
It was a trick question. It was a trick question.
Oh, well, I don't know.
The answer is 31. They are all starting pitchers. Cade Smith, the last 2 years, has a higher WAR than Tanner Bybee, than Seth Lugo, than Pablo Lopez, than Blake Snell, than Luis Castillo, Carlos Rodon, Michael King,
and
Corbin
Burns.
Burns.
WAR is already broken for relievers, and this guy is breaking the model of the broken model.
Yeah, he is the highest WAR total of any reliever. He has 5.4 the last 2 years. The next highest reliever is Mason Miller at 4.4. So that tells you a little something, right? But the fact that he has been more valuable than a bunch of starters, despite logging 149 innings compared to, say, I don't know, Michael King has 100 more innings than him, and Michael King's WAR is 4.7. Cade's is 5.4. So, yeah, like, I know it's a flawed stat, but it fits my narrative here. The dude has been awesome, and I also think we could look at him and say, okay, you've thrived in this fireman role, cleanup role, whatever it is, and your ability to get strikeouts when you need them is great. and you just have this dominant stuff. And when the splitter's going, like, good luck. Now I want to just see you pitch the ninth, because that's going to be the role. So let's just see you pitch the ninth, and just, you're coming in with a clean inning most of the time, and just go nuts. Just attack hitters. And would it shock you if at the end of the year his ERA is like 0.93 and he's got 110 strikeouts in 73 innings? Like, that's all on the table. So if you want to put him there, that's fine, because I don't know where else. Cautiously optimistic, but there's nothing cautious about it, right? So yeah, he's
no more than any other reliever.
He's robotic by nature, and I just want to see him just act like it and just execute every ninth inning.
Let's rapid fire a few of these. Daniel Schneemann, we're just inserting him into their fine category. No big expectations for him.
I was going to say last chance, just because.
Oh, really?
I just think the utility guy, like, I don't, as of right now, like, Arias is a utility guy to me. Rocchio is a utility guy to me. Like, these guys haven't proven that they are capable starters, deserving of everyday at-bats, deserving to fend off whoever's next, right?
But to Schneemann's credit, at least he at times has helped you offensively. He has actually proven to be a guy that can help you on occasion offensively. And the fact that he hits left-handed, can fit anywhere on the diamond.
Angel Martinez in the outfield can do that. I mean, I don't know. His OPS plus last year
against righties, apparently.
His OPS plus last year was 76. Like, I like Schneemann. There's a role, I think, but, like,
yeah,
I don't know. There's a lot of guys in this mix, and I just
have no expectations. Last chance to show me what? Show me you are just I think you are a solid bench bat.
Okay.
Solid, plug him in anywhere bench bat. This would be a lot easier if they only had one of Arias or Rocchio, and then Schneemann was the backup shortstop, and that was his role in addition to do all these other things. Then I think his standing would be a lot easier to sell.
I guess I think that
when you already have a backup shortstop,
I mean, Martinez,
you got to bring something else.
Martinez is going to be in the center field mix, but Juan Brito is going to be part of this, and it's, how often would he play second base versus first base or right field? That's when Bazana comes up, he's your everyday second baseman, right? And so that squeezes one infielder into a bench role, and maybe that squeezes Schneemann out of the picture, or maybe Schneemann's hitting righties well enough that Arias gets DFA'd or something. This is all projection. It's maybe he falls into that category, and it's not
for the player.
It's not necessarily because of him. It's more because of roster composition.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because show me what. I mean, outside of the Grand Slam, certainly against the Blue Jays. Was it the Detroit game where he blew it open? One of the games late in the year, he blew it open with a base hit. Contribute. Did he have a playoff? Yeah, playoff game. Game 2. Didn't he have a hit that blew the game open late? Is that what I'm remembering correctly? I can't remember. But show me what. I think you are what you are. But I'll live with it. Angel Martinez too. Where do you want to put him?
Kind of in the same mix. The difference too is Schneemann is about to turn 29. Martinez is about to turn 24. Schneemann has one extra year of big league experience as well. So they're fine. We need it. We're missing a tier here, man. I guess that they're fine, but like,
you can't have a tier for every player. That's what you want. That's the world you want to live in, where every player gets their own tier. Because it's complicated. Because it depends. It depends.
Martinez can be in there fine for now, but it's kind of like Rocchio, where it's like you need to perform or you're going to get squeezed out.
Well, I could make a hear me out case, but the other way, I don't. And this went away more as the season unfolded. I don't think it's fair to just say, well, he was fine against the lefties, so that could be his role opposite whoever's at second base. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about to just assume that this wasn't just some random variance that got him some really good production against lefties. If you think there's something in the data perhaps the team does that suggests he's better from the right side, I will listen to that. But I'm willing to kind of chalk that up to just being some randomness that led to that. I think he's better against righties, and I don't think he's quite as good against lefties. But overall, probably, so far has shown us he is what he is.
Yeah, I need to see more. The difference there is like the Nolan Jones is the last chance, but he's had a ton of chances. Martinez has had one season, essentially.
I'm going to let you hear me out on Eric Zabrowski.
Sure.
Where we? Hear me out? Okay, make me hear me out.
He's only ever been really good. Every time we see him, it's a matter of health. It's a matter of durability. It's 2 seasons of small samples, right? But those samples have been good. Obviously, the walk rate is a big part of his operation. He had 21 walks in 29 innings last season. Somehow escaped damage. He only gave up 6 earned runs, and the strikeout rate's great. The stuff is filthy. So just be healthy, be more available, and I trust that if you can dodge harm when you've got a walk rate of 6.5 per 9 innings, then I would hope that you can find a way to bring that down, and you'd be just as effective.
Just like a guy that doesn't have to run away from his fastball.
Yeah.
Like he does not. That's a good building block. The rest you can build around that really good fastball. And so far, hitters have not been able to figure that out with any sort of consistency. And we'll see what he does. That first real full big league season, hopefully he gets that this year. Slade Ciccone. I think you could sell me on any of the optimistic hear me out and they're fine.
Yeah. I don't know.
At this point, I'm leaning they're fine.
Yeah. I don't have a strong enough take for a hear me out. I'm also not as optimistic on him as I am maybe Cantillo or even Messick.
Agreed.
But I need to see more. And I need to see, there's also something to be said for seeing a guy with a new organization where he made a ton of changes and see him in year 2. What's the offseason like for you now that you've got all this under your belt? What's the offseason like for you now that you know the people you're working with? Remember, the trade happened in late December. He gets a call. He talks to Carl Willis. He's like, all right, I'm on board. Let's do all this. But, like, you don't know who these people are. They don't know you. They've seen video, but they don't know how your appetite for diving into this stuff and what works for you and what doesn't. So give me a full offseason, a full spring training after all those changes have been implemented and you've had some results and some evidence you can point to.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I trust data. I trust stuff. I trust when consistently things that have been proven to be important are important. And if you have it, I believe in you. And for Ciccone, that wasn't always there. I will also admit that there are things on the fringes that you can make you outperform them, not only just in terms of how you pitch, but also mentality and preparation. And I will buy that Slade Ciccone, there's something about the mentality, the competitiveness, the whatever, that allows him to pitch better than maybe he should. But you need to show me that consistently before I believe that's an actual repeatable skill and not just something that showed up at the same time as you having some really good production. That's not to sell him short or to say that I don't think he's valuable or not worth a rotation spot. As in the mix as anybody else beyond Bybee and Williams for sure, and earned that with the way that he pitched last year. But let's just see more. Show me more of what you are. I don't have strong expectations one way or the other. You're just kind of in the middle for me, and I'm willing to adapt based on what you show me. Juan Brito, like he could go into the last chance to show me something, but for a different reason than some other guys. But the reason why I say that is we've talked about him for several years, and injuries took him out, obviously, last year. We would have seen him at some point last year if not for the injuries. But also, now Travis Bazzana is starting to come up. So, like, my thought is more of, even if he's continuing to prove to be a little better than league average hitter with maybe some versatility, where does he fit on this roster? And where's he going to find his playing time? I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know the position. He's a switch hitter, but, like, it's got the right-handed part of the platoon written all over it, the way this team is built. I don't know. I've liked some of the attributes, like the ability to draw walks. There's way more power in there than I think we all realized when they made the trade. dude when healthy can rack up doubles. He was hitting more home runs. So I don't know what the full product looks like. We were robbed of a really important year for him and of development, but also of just letting us know like who he could be.
Yeah.
And
think of us. Think of our feelings.
And so to delay that
we
a
were
year,
robbed, damn it.
To delay that a year when it would have been an important year, obviously also for the team. Like they could have used him last year, or at least learn more about him.
The idea of him, yeah.
And instead, now his timeline is similar to Bazana, where he could have had a head start, and we could have figured out, okay, well, like this guy needs to be here, so you're in the major leagues. We want to prioritize. Let's let you learn right field or something. Like they, how long did they trot Jhonkensy Noel out there last year? That could have been Brito at some point. So I don't know what to do with him. He's like maybe the most difficult one to place here. Like I want to say cautiously optimistic, but after missing essentially a year, like I don't even know if I'm that anymore.
Yeah. Well, my last chance meant more as a guy that I talk about as being in the future plans. When we're talking about young players that have yet to debut and guys that we've seen briefly, he's always mentioned right alongside them. But this is sort of his last year to be in that category for me. If he doesn't debut and show us something to that level, then we start to kick him down closer to, well, maybe he's a guy that helps off the bench. Maybe he's in the Angel Martinez, Daniel Schneemann category, somewhere along those lines. I'm willing to say that it's a hear me out.
I think the offensive profile is better than, he's not the prototypical like middle infielder with the hit tool who you hope develops into some power or something. Like he's gonna wind up at a corner somewhere, right? And then it's just a matter of how the hitting translates. But there's enough in there that makes me believe he can be at least a league average bat. I just, might not be right away, might not be this year, and that's I think what's frustrating about him missing that season.
6 to go. Let's go Parker Messick. You optimistic? We hearing you out? Is he just fine so far?
Just fine. Trending toward cautiously optimistic, but again, like I see the tangible stuff with Cantillo, and I have enough evidence that it can work. And with Messick, maybe I just need to see more before I can elevate him. Is that fair?
Yeah. If there's like a depth chart of guys that I believe in that rotation among the 6 that we saw last year, I'd put him above Slade Ciccone, but below Joey Cantillo, certainly above Logan Allen. Just in terms of what I think their future is going to be. I mean, I was very encouraged by he looked like he could handle big moments. He looked like it wasn't going to be something's going to spiral out of control for a guy that's just stepping into this major league role in a guy or a team that is trying to make their comeback late in the year. It didn't look like he didn't belong. But I don't know that I see even the level of the hope and dreams that I had for Williams and Bybee when they arrived. I thought these are 2 guys that could be front of the rotation arms. I don't think I feel that about Messick, but that's not to tear him down. There's plenty of guys that make lots of money and have long careers being your number 3 starter, and I think he's maybe got that sort of ceiling, maybe more. Maybe he'll show us more this next year.
I think that's fair. Well said.
Daniel Espino.
Whew.
Where does that guy go? And how much is not his fault?
Yeah, I think it is entirely unfair to place expectations on him.
It is, but I'm going to do it. He's going to cautiously optimistic.
Here's the thing. The best case scenario for him this year is that he's part of the bullpen in the second half, right? Like you were not going to ask this guy who's missed 4 years essentially to throw. Do we agree that like he probably winds up in the bullpen?
Long term? Absolutely.
Even now.
Yeah, I would say that that's the case.
Let's
and
say,
certainly
let's
in the
say
short
he's
term.
a reliever in 2026. Let's just say that for the sake of this argument. You're not asking him to throw 70 innings So you're slow playing this, and you're sending him
back-to-back days or 3 days in a
you're
row,
sending
nothing
him,
like that.
he's staying in Arizona, then you're sending him to Columbus at some point, and he just like pitches on a schedule. In the best case scenarios, he comes up and he's part of your bullpen at some point in the second half. And even then, like, do you just expect that he's got a 150 ERA and an awesome strikeout rate?
Yeah,
and
I
like,
expect that. So that's why he's
and it's
going into
high
cautiously.
leverage?
No, of course, I'm
Like
being a bit facetious here,
the
but
stuff
I
might
do.
be good enough, but like
I'm certainly excited for it. I'm
Yeah.
really just I want to see it. I cannot wait to see it. I mean, forget us being robbed. He's been robbed of a really potentially great career. A guy that before the injuries took him off the board, he was mentioned alongside other great, not just relief pitching prospects, but starting pitching prospects. A guy that had the unicorn label thrown upon him, and people thought this guy could potentially lead a rotation, be one of the better starting pitchers in baseball. He has that sort of stuff, and now injuries robbed him of that, robbed the team of that, robbed us of seeing it. I will say, hear me out. I can hear somebody out on why he's going to be a big part of this team down the stretch and why he could be a bullpen weapon for this team. I don't think it's fair to put him into their fine category because I don't know. I really have no idea. And if you also tell me it's the last chance to show me he's going to be a big part of this team, if something unfortunate happens again this year, some sort of setback, it could very well be the case. But I'll leave him and hear me out for now because I don't know where else he fits.
Yeah, that works.
George Valera. I think he goes into hear me out.
Okay.
I think this guy can hit against righties. I think he's more than capable of being your corner outfielder DH. I'm not asking him to do anything more. I'm not thinking about the guy that I was hopeful he would be 3 years ago, but I think this guy can help.
Simple as that. Yeah, stay healthy, hit righties, profit.
Colin Holderman up into the Jose category, given what we've talked about this offseason. Cautiously optimistic, I would guess.
Yeah, I think they did a good enough job cobbling together depth so that you are not relying on him day one to pitch in high leverage. But I see the path there by midseason. I see the scenario where he's a guy you trust, and you don't have to squint too hard to see it. I think we're not. I don't think we're on an island on this one. I think this guy was pretty successful in Pittsburgh for a couple of years, and the formula for him is simple. How do you get that sweeper back to the level it was at? And
I'm thinking of the Family Guy, and Peter goes, no, not you, Seamus, when we're looking at his ERA from last year. Everything else, though, looks fantastic. Similar category for Connor Brogdon. I'm not quite as optimistic about him, but I also feel like I think he can help out of that bullpen. I do. Are you going to go there fine, or do you think it's a hear me out sort of situation?
I would go there fine. I don't have strong opinions on him.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's out of options, so probably needs to make the team.
Number 30 on the tier list, number 1 in our hearts. Hunter Gaddis is our last man on this list. And we could have gone deeper. I could have added Bazana and anybody else on the 40-man roster. I could have done that too, but then this show would have been 3 hours.
Yeah, so Gaddis to me is like Armstrong in the they're fine category. It's not a negative. He's solid. You need him to keep up what he's done. He was in town over the weekend, talked to reporters, said he doesn't want to ease into the season. He takes his month off after the season. He's ready to go. It doesn't matter that this guy's made more appearances than pretty much anybody in the universe over the last 2 years, including the playoffs. He's ready. As long as he can stay healthy and be durable and not lose any of the effectiveness on the stuff, then perfectly fine as a 7th, 8th inning guy.
If you ask me, that is a perfectly acceptable single-use tier list.
So I look at this roster and I just, if I'm thinking about the 2026 Guardians, I would say, hey, hear me out. They're fine.
They're fine. That works. Yeah, it probably passes the smell test. If I spend enough time looking at this list enough, I'm pretty sure I would move everyone somewhere else. If I spend enough time with it. Which is, what stage of the offseason is that?
We're at 9. We're stuck in 9. We can't get out of 9.
This is fun.
Everyone's jonesing for 10 when they actually make a move.
Hopefully you agree. It was fine.
It was fine.
And if not,
I'm cautiously optimistic this will be a good year for the podcast. I would love to get into that Jose territory, but for now we'll stick with our
I think
top
this is our
20
last
Guardians
chance.
podcast list.
Last chance to show you anything, really. Uh-oh.